The strength of a nation is in its youth. But when the youth are hateful, rebellious, inconsiderate, selfish, ungrateful, and highly indoctrinated as they are today, how much of a paradise do you expect them to be able to create for the future? Welcome to the Common Sense Show. I'm Kyle, and I am joined today by Jake and Ellison, our usuals. And today I have a very special guest, and I'm going to allow him to introduce himself. Take it away.
So, my name is John Ross Marcus Cox. I'll give you all four names just because, again,
Wait. Say that again.
It's John Ross Marcus Cox is my name. And so my mother knew I was going to be, I was destined for something. So she gave me four names. Okay. Give me four names. I'm a nobody, but I'm also everybody. At least here in Kentucky. You know,
right.
I literally feel like I'm an embodiment of everything stereotypical about this state,
right,
wrapped up into like one ball.
Right.
That's what I am. So I'm out here today because I won't say colleague, but I'm buddies with Jake's dad, Representative Josh Calloway, here in Breckinridge County, and I guess it was divine providence that our paths were gonna cross. And he was the first representative that I met with when I decided I was going to stop being a part of the problem. But as far as like from a political standpoint and like a civilian standpoint, yeah. I already told. Listen, I really will. I will go white trash on this place. I will flip this table over. Okay, like I'm not a lobbyist. My wife would probably tell you like she doesn't care what I have to be. I gotta start making some money. Right. Like if it means be a lobbyist, you got to do it. But it's part of the it's part of the magic.
I don't mean to be disrespectful. I'm just kidding around. Go ahead.
I'm so excited to do this show because it's so funny the reverence that you three give someone who does not deserve it.
We said it the other week though. Like every human being is born with a level of, like, there is an element of respect that's to be given to every human being. And then, like, you can destroy that, obviously. Like, you know, you can be a horrible person and destroy that. But you've done everything on the opposite. Like, we have no reason not to respect you.
Right.
So,
anyway.
That's
Anybody
awesome.
that stands with my father, though, up until this point, you know, has earned a lot of people's
especially after
respect.
last week.
Oh. Especially after last
I
week.
kind of probably have to. Like, he is who he is. But, like, I do like to think maybe have helped push it along because he knew he had somebody in the trenches.
Oh, right,
like,
right, 100%.
If he needed somebody's car keyed, he had me.
right.
You know what I mean? If he needs somebody to like take a screwdriver and just take somebody's tire
just
out.
one tire, just one.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I've been known to do some crazy stuff like that. And so I'm out here because not even 2 years ago, but about 18 months ago, I was again part of the problem and was just complaining about politics, and my wife and I were sitting there on our phones on Facebook, sending each other articles and being mad about stuff.
Right.
And I finally just was like, "This isn't how it's supposed to work."
Yeah.
There's got to be, like, I'm obviously not going to be able to influence the president, but there's got to be something that goes on between me and the president. So it's time to get involved. But I'll tell you some more specific stories along the way, maybe. But so call me a lobbyist if you need a
I honestly I'm not sure what any of those terms are.
if you need like a prism to see what I do as far as politically, lobbyists is definitely one of the ways to look through it. I mean, but lobbyists are people that are down, like, a lot of times aren't ideologically motivated. They're financially motivated, and they're just going after the highest bidder or whatever. Now they're all good lobbyists. I'm not saying they're all bad, but like, I try to make sure I'm down there and pushing things that are important to me and that I think are important to society and culture. And again, it's kind of it's sad that I have to be down there, but again, I think God has sent me down there because I literally know everything that I didn't have and didn't get, and all the bad stuff I did and all the wrong decisions I made. And, so there's really not like, the way they were trying to shame your dad, like, they literally cannot do that to me because I try to air all my dirty laundry. It's like, I love it. I love being like transparent and just dump it on you.
If you are at the bottom of the barrel in your own mind, it's hard for anybody to stump you any further down.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how I perceive it anyways. But anyways, today we're going to be talking about the education system, not sort of the education system, more of the future. Like I had said in the intro, what do we expect our future to look like with, teens running around trying to burn down cities and, things of that nature that are going on. And I know you're really involved with a lot of youth, and you've been, especially here of late, trying to, keep kids from being mutilated and all. And you and Brother Josh, especially Brother Josh, has been going after that, very effectively. Or at least I would like to hope it's being effective and all. He's doing a very good job going after that and explaining a lot of that. And I know you've been involved in some of that. What's your take on, the public education system of our day?
So my mother, she's a retired school teacher, taught the public school system in Bell County, Kentucky for, 31, 32 years. She's still like a full-time sub. She just couldn't walk away from like the gossip. She had to have like the teacher's lounge. So she's still there every day. Love you,
It's
Mom.
like men in the barbershop.
Right. Oh, come on now.
But
hey, I don't go anymore.
So I'm a product of the system. My mother's been in the system. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
I'm able to still see the light. I'm not tribal about it. You know what I mean? Right now we have people protecting it simply because in order to admit that it's bad, they have to admit that they were in a bad system for 20 years.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's definitely not doing what it's intended. Actually, it is doing exactly what it's intended to do. You know, if you go back and look at it historically, what public school was meant to do as far as what kind of what the product was, which was a conformist society.
This is going right into where we're wanting to go. If you start looking back in the colonial era, whenever the first idea of creating a public school here in America was introduced, you're going to find that it was almost 100% of the people wanted that so that young kids could learn how to read the Bible. That's what they want. They wanted people that could do arithmetic and all, but then they wanted their kids to be literate so that they could read the Bible because they saw that there was value there. Now today, they don't allow anything biblical or anything of that nature, but they'll allow every other sort of ideology, if you want to call it that, into our school system, which I think is hypocritical of them at best, but that kind of takes away a little bit. But that was the original thought behind it all.
Right,
Was for them to be able to become citizens of the United States. I say citizens, helpful, effective citizens. They would be an asset to their communities and to the country as a whole. That was the thought process there. And that's what it should be today, I think. But it's not. It seems like they're indoctrinating kids to think down a certain line, to be intolerant of anyone that thinks differently. They inspire hate towards anybody that doesn't think the way that they think. You see, kids aren't actually coming out of school with any kind of skill that is going to allow them to then become an effective and a prosperous citizen of the United States of America, to take advantage of the system that we've been placed into. So,
but two things. First of all, we talk about the Bible reading. So there's still a state law in Kentucky, it's KRS 158-170. The Bible to be read. The teacher in charge shall read or cause to be read a portion of the Bible daily in every classroom or session room of the common schools of the state in the presence of the pupils therein assembled. But no child shall be required to read the Bible against the wish of his parents or guardian. That is still a state law in the state of Kentucky.
Are you serious?
It's still a law.
Is it acted upon?
Well, that's one thing we can get. We can go down a rabbit hole on for hours. Right. All the laws that are out there that aren't enforced.
100%.
Or selectively enforced. And that's where a lot of the claims of racism come into play and are legitimate, because they're not. Some things aren't enforced on certain people, and we don't even, you don't know it's a law if it's not being enforced on. You know what I mean? But this is still they've never repealed this. So
really?
Technically, teachers are supposed to have to read the Bible every single day to their classroom, and if you don't want your kid in there, you're allowed to let them leave the room.
That's interesting.
But no one knows that. But I think I remember now. You sent me, this might be the topic today, but I brought a little thing as far as what education should be. Yeah. So whatever education is, it should make you a unique individual, not a conformist. It should furnish you with an original spirit with which to tackle the big challenges. Should allow you to find values which will be your roadmap through life. Should make you spiritually rich, a person who loves whatever you are doing, wherever you are, whoever you are with. It should teach you what is important, how to live, and how to die. What's gotten in the way of education in the United States is a theory of social engineering that says there is one right way to proceed with growing up. And that's literally why the top part hasn't played out at all over the last 50 years. That last line, as far as like, that's what.
Everything, though, that you just said is going to help a young person to pursue a career, to be an honest tax-paying citizen, or to be a public servant, to know, hey, you live good, you live according to the law, you live that way, you'll die an honest, respectable citizen.
Right.
It talks about the live and die. Obviously, I don't think religion should be taught in a public school. It's a public school. But then again, school choice, I'm not educated on that. We could get into that, but I'm not well educated on that. Us being raised up in a Christian school, we're able to then receive a Christian education. That then helps us to conform to the image of Christ. That was our parents' decisions, though, to put us in that environment. Nobody forced them to. Nobody forced us to think the way that we think. We were taught these things from a very young age, and we've embraced them because we've seen what's real out of them. In a public school setting, or let's say the same thing could happen in a Mormon school, if that exists, or a Catholic school. Those do. They're teaching their religion, but they're being willingly subjected to it. Whenever you're in a public school setting, you're taking the melting pot, as America is called, right? And you're trying to educate them. So you can't really bring in a lot of different religious things. The Bible, I believe, could be an exception, because there's a lot of religions based upon the Bible, but the Bible itself is just as practical as it is spiritual. There are the entire makeup of our country's constitution and all was founded by men, or is written by men who were well versed in the Bible, who took the principles from the Bible, who will openly admit that they used the Bible as a direct reference for the way that they worded the Constitution so that we could have the country that we live in today. And so with the public school system, I think that there's a balance to be found, but I honest to goodness think that all of this other mess that is going on with trying to indoctrinate kids to think that they can change themselves surgically and that they should, that is beyond ridiculous.
You just opened it all up, it felt like, in a rat's nest. But if I could, I'd like to go back to a particular part of your statement, John. You said a sense of uniqueness, or develop someone that is unique. Nowadays, they would I'm assuming they would like to argue that whatever way that you feel, of course, identity-wise, or what you identify as, is your sense of uniqueness. But what makes somebody in society, like if I guess somebody that's going through school, that's in the system that you said that public school should be, what would make somebody unique?
I don't even know how I guess every person is going to come out, different as far as that goes. I mean, I see the direction you're going in.
Because I feel like they would take that statement and say that we are making them unique by letting them be whatever they want to be.
The truth is that to be whatever they're trying to make them, they're trying to make that normality rather than something that's unique. Because unique would be rare.
Right, exactly.
It's not anymore.
Once I listen, what I'm saying here, this is what I'm saying, that if education is anything, it should be these things.
Right, right.
We got to stop thinking of how do we get as much of what we know needs to be done into a system that doesn't want it?
Right.
Like, what is education in general? I mean, right now we send kids off, 158 hours in a week or something like that. They spend the majority of their time, I broke it down. I think the other night we were talking. Yeah. Kids get somewhere, it's like single-digit hours a week to actually be themselves and develop a subconscious and be bored.
Yeah.
They're either in school, on the bus, sleeping, eating, or on TikTok.
Right.
I mean, we're not even talking about.
You talk a lot about this in one of your recent
in my most recent show.
Right?
Yeah.
Be sure to go. We'll put a link to that in the description.
And so it's we got to stop trying. I used to want to fix the system. Yeah. I don't think it can be fixed. Nor do I think that's a system that we really want. I mean, so my kids are homeschooled now. like I got 4 kids. They're 3, 5, 7, and 9. I grew up public school. My oldest started in public school. I choke up thinking about, had COVID not happened and everything not have gotten exposed, what was happening there, and I had to start thinking about how much time they were spending there. Like, I think about how much time I would not have gotten with my children. I don't want to fix it and keep pigeonholing kids into being away from their families for 10 hours a day. And then they come home and they're trying to eat and they're fussing with their mom because they got baseball or they got football or they got basketball and they're rushing home and trying to shower and go to bed, and like, not for 1 minute did a parent get to say like, how was your day? Like, where's Jesus fit into that?
Right.
Where's church fit into that? Where does like, pray before we go to bed? It doesn't fit into that.
It's like the school has provided their own sort of, what would you call that, world, basically, for that kid to live in, where the influence of the parent is.
Well, that's basically, like, instead of saying, how do we assist our families to continue on with that traditional family structure? It's that, okay, this is why this parents' rights issue is such a problem, because they see parents as adversaries. And, and I see the system as adversary now. But, like, they said, okay, parents are bad. How do we become, the place where they eat breakfast? We give them transportation. We feed them. Sometimes they clothe them. We're giving them all their, like, mental sustenance. We give them food before they leave. We give them a ride home. And then if you have problems or anything, you get on a little app and tell me what's wrong with your feelings or whatever. I mean, that's like, they literally are trying. They want to be the they want to be the doctor, the schoolhouse, the church house, the everything. Yeah. And like they will accept nothing less at this point. Yeah. And so there's no reform anymore. I mean, I just like, I know they're not gonna let us burn it to the ground. And it's like, I don't know if society could handle that, but until
what would take its place?
It'd probably be ugly for a while. You know what I mean? Like, I think one thing
would it do better for the country to have to endure that? Because there are some areas where they are I'm sure there has to be some areas where their kids are receiving a decent education at public school. They're actually being educated on things that they need, math, science, things like that, So to tear the whole thing down, do you not think it would do more harm than good to have, COVID was a big deal, because kids not going into school, just them not being around kids kind of messes with the kid as, because they're separated from other, from building relationships and stuff like that. Homeschool said to be somewhat like that, it makes them somewhat antisocial, which I was homeschooled for a little bit. I'm not antisocial. I'm not really the most social person in the world, as they could tell you, but I'm not antisocial. I've learned communicative skills to a degree, still working on them, as you can tell. But do you not think that it would do more harm than good to tear down the whole system and to try to, it'd be ugly for a while, and then to try to find something to replace it, and kids not be able to receive any education for a length of time?
Well, again, I think the biggest struggle right now is that we're trying to redefine what education is. Like, I'm a pretty book smart person. I may not look like it or sound like it, but I have a college degree and made good grades and wrote pretty long papers, 40, 50 page long papers, all that. I wasn't taught how to be like a father. Right. You know what I mean? Yes. Like, I wasn't taught like those base needs. So we talked about this the other day. In colonial England, in American Revolutionary New England, right, they had almost a 100% literacy rate. This was before public education.
Are you talking about like colonial to revolutionary?
I'm talking about during the American Revolutionary period.
It was like 90-something%.
We had almost a 100% literacy rate amongst our citizens. And obviously, there's slaves and stuff in there that weren't getting it, but it wasn't because they couldn't learn how to read. It's because we literally were not allowing them to.
Right.
We're whipping them and making them work in the cotton fields and stuff all the time. That's not, Whereas today, we're putting them in school for that long. And in Louisville, we have last year our literacy rate across the board was 28%.
Really?
28% of kids were reading at grade level.
That's wild.
And it was like 38% were proficient. We're like proficient in math, so we're on a grade level in math. But at the same time, I look back and I'm like, what's that really even matter? At the end of the day, there's studies that are showing that as far as like reading and writing. So I used to be so anti homeschool. I got 3 half sisters that have family that are homeschool. Like where I come from, homeschoolers are weird.
Right.
East Kentucky, they live back.
Tim Hawkins has plenty of things on homeschoolers.
They live back in the holler. You know what I mean? They wear like long denim skirts or all that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's what I thought they still were. Well, it's like then I got my kids that are homeschool, and we're the house where like everybody's trying to send their kids during COVID. They're like everybody's trying to call over and be like, "Hey, can they come over and hang out?" And I'm like, but you're like excited schools are shut down, and you're like on social media with your mask on and everything. You're like getting like your Joe Biden mask, but you want to send you're sending your kid to like the most conservative house, definitely in the county.
Right.
And so it's because people know what's right. You know what I mean? And so I think the whole what we think of as education, like what's more important as a dude, being able to read Shakespeare or being able to read in general, but then knowing how to build a boat, or work with your hands, or like be an electrician or do flooring or or
truthfully,
whatever.
back in, but whenever public schools were just first being regarded, there was a lot of kids that were not able to go to those public schools from the ages. These were for ages 5 to 15. This is right after the Revolutionary War. There were kids that weren't able to go because they were needed on the farms. The practical skills that they had were more valuable to them than the education. The education was a privilege. It was a bonus on top of everything else. But like you said, those practical skills, the ability to work a farm, to be able to grow their own food, all of those things back then, building a house, building barn, whatever it was that they were doing, that was far more valuable to them than getting the education.
It's highly educated, but at the cost of what? I feel like we live in a day and age where a degree gives you the right to have an opinion. And so, I feel like because, now there's gender studies. So there's degrees now that we wouldn't even agree with. It's like you can go get a degree in math, and I'll agree with you. You're pretty good at math. I don't care what your political standpoint is. But nowadays, I feel like they want you to have a degree to therefore that you can have an opinion, and if you're not educated as them, your opinion isn't as valuable.
Yeah,
I feel like that's it. So
I just looked up the definitions for indoctrinate and educate. So to educate means giving evidence of training or practice. Skilled. It's benefiting one that is educated. And then the third definition is based on some knowledge of fact. So it's evidence of training or practice. It's skill. That's educate. It's to learn something. For us, I was told in school the biggest thing that we needed to learn was to learn how to learn. Whenever you're learning, whenever you're trying to do memorization, or whether it's, trying to work a problem out in math or something like that, you're learning how you best operate. So for me, it's visually. I don't do well just listening to things, and like my comprehension skills there aren't as good as if I'm visually watching something or then doing that something. If I can do it, I can learn it. Some people, they can read it and they can know it. I think Reagan's like that to a degree. I could be off on that, but there are people that they learn differently. But we learned those things in school. We weren't exactly indoctrinated, which would mean to induce somebody or to imbue with a usual partisan or sectarian opinion, point of view, or principle. To instruct especially in fundamentals or rudiments. Okay, so basically it's like, here's the way. This is how you should go, so on and so forth. Instead of it being like, here's a skill that you need to learn. Here's something in science that you need to know. Like this, these are the facts. Build your life on these facts, because that's the only thing that you're going to have any kind of stability in life on, is if you operate under facts. Men are men, women are women. It's not good to change your your gender or anything like that, it's not good for you. Like everything says it's not
it's impossible.
good for you. Yeah, that's also true. But it's just learning the facts, being taught the facts in school, and then having somebody that has somewhat of a brain to be able to help you to learn what it means to be wise, to obtain wisdom. What does it take to put yourself out there in challenging situations? Those kinds of things are invaluable to us to learn. And that's what we were given in our education, but I'm afraid it's missing a lot in today. So the indoctrination thing, that's kind of the dangers of today. But I want to look at some of the kids of today, some of the crazy things. You sent us a video of the kids over there in Chicago.
Oh, my goodness, right? Yeah. Yeah, that was wild.
It's crazy. You want to roll this clip, Jonah? All right, let me get it full screen here. Y'all see that? You got anything else to add before we roll this? All right.
Chicago is bracing for the weekend as more teenagers plan to gather again downtown. There's a gathering being advertised on social media at Millennium Park on Saturday night, and police are preparing. For more on this, we're going to be joined right now by Fox 32 Chicago reporter Elizabeth Matthews, who's live there outside of Millennium Park. Elizabeth, good to see you on this Friday. How are Chicago officials preparing for this yet again?
I'll tell you, you might actually be able to see them behind me currently. It seems like they have gotten word that possibly there is another teen takeover of Millennium Park that might be happening today. I'll tell you, yesterday we were on the story too. We saw a small contingency of police officers, which isn't abnormal, of course, in downtown Chicago, but they did kind of congregate in Millennium Park, then disperse. Today, there's a much more massive crowd of Chicago police officers and some of their units just on the outskirts of Millennium Park. They continue to monitor these online conversations and trying to be proactive after what happened last weekend. Let's take a look at some video that we sent you guys. For a couple of days now, like I said, there has been kind of this larger police presence in Millennium Park, kind of noticeable,
check that out.
Which is the chosen meeting place for these so-called teen takeovers. This past weekend, you've seen it by now, video of large groups of teens not only meeting up downtown Chicago, but then becoming violent, assaulting adults, jumping on cars, even firing weapons, which actually injured 2 teens. A downtown alderman, his name's Brian Hopkins, he says his office this week has been fielding calls from nearby businesses and restaurants. Let's listen to what he had to say.
They've asked us if we should close, or stay open. And I think Macy's is actually closing a little bit early, 2 hours early. Some of the restaurants have said that they're going to close early. That's an individual decision every business has to make for themselves. We can't make it for them. Some of them have been told by their insurance company, hey, one more claim and we might drop you. So they have to take all that into consideration. It's just one more reason why we simply can't let this continue to happen.
And now Chicago police are being very proactive when it comes to this because there have been rumblings that possibly there's something that might happen tonight. The more advertised one is tomorrow night around 5:30, 6 o'clock here in Millennium Park. And that alderman, Brian Hopkins, he tells me that Chicago police commanders have been meeting most of the week, tabletop exercises at their headquarters, going through scenarios on what the best way is to manage these crowds and make sure that everyone still remains safe. So if you do come, if you're planning on coming to Chicago, coming downtown Chicago this weekend, even tonight, you might see a larger police presence. Don't let that alarm you. They're just here, just trying to be as proactive as they can. Back to you.
Yeah, I guess
so. Is there a reason they're doing that? Like, why? Why are they doing that?
Because they want to. I mean, there's no riot. I mean, it's not like back in the day when John D. Rockefeller had all these people working in his oil fields and they were wanting higher wages, and so they go out and they riot. And they're like, we're not going to work. This is just people. These are just kids that got on social media, decided that they were going to do this, and there they are. I mean, I'm sure
brings up the question: should social media just be like a banned thing in America? Would America be better if that was the case?
I mean, no, I don't know, because it's something that is used productively. Like if you use it and take advantage of it as a good person in society, it can be helpful. But I feel like it's abused more than it is used for good. Me personally. But you're somebody that has to be on the media with what you do. Like it's quintessential to the things that you do.
I'm kind of like, I do feel like a terrible person that I like. You need social media to like. It definitely has its societal goods.
Right.
I do think kids are gaining access to it way
so
too
then
soon.
Yes.
Here's a better question.
Well, let's not get away from that we just watched real quick. I would like to just see what that's teenagers. So that's our school kids.
Right.
That's people like me, like you, not you anymore. but that are out riding in streets. Same thing that you saw a lot with the BLM things, but these are just teenagers that decided to get together and destroy it. They call it a teen takeover. What's your opinions on that?
If you want to know what I think about it? Like
That's what
I would, if it was me, I would be on a megaphone and be like, all y'all are stupid.
Right.
And we're not going to listen to anything you say. And the longer you stay here, the more I'm going to take away from you.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
where are their parents?
I'm the opposite of the dude that wants to give like, and there's Republicans that are like this, that want to like give kids a seat on the school board, a vote and seat on the school board. I'm like, they're kids. They're stupid. They don't know what they don't know what they need. I know this because I was stupid when I was 13.
Right.
I was an absolute idiot. Now, like, again, I'm here. I'm where I'm at now not because the stuff I went through. In spite of it, I got to run. I probably would have been one of those people.
Yeah.
And it would have been good. You know what I mean? And
Would
so like social media makes it now to where they can do it and be worldwide.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And that's one of my points on that is like, perhaps if it was restricted to a certain age, like you had to be.
But there's ways around it, man.
That's true.
In America, as far as I know, no matter what they do, there will always be a way around that.
That's true.
But like hypothetically, I'm a store owner, right? Wherever that's at. And I know that this is going on. I'm going to be there. I'm going to have a couple beanbag guns, and I'm going to be armed. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to protect what's mine. And then they're coming through here. I mean, just trashing the place.
How many stores? Do you know how many stores or anything that they have already trashed?
Oh, I don't know any numbers, no. But they just. I feel like everybody's entitled. There's no consequences for what people are doing nowadays.
Right.
And this is just something they can go do on the weekend, and it holds no value over what they can do.
What's the purpose of it? Like, what pleasure are they getting from this? Like, what?
It's just a dopamine hit. I mean,
Just because they're causing chaos?
Let's bring it back to schools. Like, think about. So when you're in school, you're doing subjects, right?
Mm-hmm.
So every 45 minutes,
It's a new one.
The bell's ringing.
Yeah.
Right. So like these kids, even myself. I mean, I struggle from this. Like, that's how you think in those 45-minute to an hour segments, and it's on to the next.
Right.
On the next things. I mean, they're just waiting on the bell to ring on this, and they'll be doing something else. That's why nothing they ever do leads to anything, because they don't really have a plan.
This could lead to the lack of a father figure instilling knowledge in them, because education, for us especially, it went way further than just at school. Whenever we came home, our parents were teaching us. They were showing us the good and the right way to live.
That gets into just like the moral compass that's kind of been stripped away a little bit from just the younger generation.
Well, I know y'all just talked about in a podcast with Brother Josh Calloway and them about the father figure, the importance of it. And I know that's something that you hold especially pretty close. That's something very, very, very important to you.
Yeah, well, listen, and it's no one political party is at fault for that. They've both kind of led us down that direction. But when I see that, first thing, I'm a little older now, so those are y'all's peers, so y'all are probably pissed, like, oh, they're so stupid. And
right.
Right. Yeah. I'm almost 40. I see like children out here. I'm like mad at the people that are allowing it to go on.
Yeah.
So like, I know that no matter what, those kids that are doing that, it is like they got a rough road to make before things will get better for them, because they're going to have to face some difficult realities to realize how it really works. And the world doesn't really work with you vandalizing properties and kicking over trash cans and setting cop cars on fire. You know what I mean?
So you blame people that have put in policies or that have. Are you talking about parents here?
I blame parents and all the adults in the rooms that are passing legislation and that can remove.
So truthfully, the way if I'm getting this correctly, you look at it as though, and I'm not saying this is wrong whenever I say this, that I'm just trying to see it from your perspective. these young people have inherited problems that they don't even know they have yet.
They've literally never seen a world where that wasn't okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, you can't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
It's like the whole deal with like student. So again, I know all the Republicans, but I'm not necessarily a Republican. It's like I'm trying to like slow roll I'm more of like a populist type person here.
Right.
It's where I'm kind of sympathetic to the student loan stuff. It was adults indoctrinating children and saying, like, in order to have a happy life, you need to take on 6 figures worth of debt that you bust tables at this point in your life. You were just trying to make $30 in tips in a weekend so you could buy a tank of gas to get to school.
Yeah.
Now we're going to, you just signed a promissory note to have $100,000 in debt where you're going to be paying $400 a month for basically the rest of your life.
Right.
Right.
Like, I just don't know how that's even like it's insurmountable.
Right.
Especially whenever you're talking about large swaths of society that want to be, traditional
Right.
Americans, or want to have a job and pay taxes and go on vacation. And
Do you that term traditional Americans? I'm running rabbits. I'm bad about running rabbits, but I'm going to run this one because I feel like this one here's got a little bit of validity to it. Traditional American. What do you consider that to be?
Traditional American. Certainly a mother, father, children,
Right.
in the same house. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then getting to kind of do as they please after that. You know what I mean? Like punching a clock, going on vacation, just like having purpose and meaning in your life.
Do you think that could be part of the problem here?
Oh, I think we already
As
established
far
that
as,
with just like
like
the fatherless figure, yeah.
Talking to Brother Josh in the most recent podcast, he was doing all of that stuff. He's got a family, had a wife of many years, good life, part of the church, serving there. But now he's getting more into the political aspect of things. My question is, do you not think that there is somewhat of a lack of motivation for people to be a little bit more involved in the future of their kids? Because politics, as much as everybody hates politics, most people, it is going to determine, it's a necessary evil to determine the future of this country. You know what I'm saying?
But look, and I think I said this in the last show, life is made up of all these little bitty things you do every day.
Right.
Brushing your teeth, making your bed, you ever saw the Admiral at the University of Texas saying, if you want to change the world,
Yeah.
it's about make your bed. Make your bed. I mean, like, that's what it's about. Like, you won't know if you're going to be qualified to be able to make decisions for large swaths of people.
You're still voting.
But what I'm saying is, like, as far as getting to where Josh is at, all he could do was try to do the right things, and then you got to hope that everything else falls into place, and that the timing is just right. Timing is everything.
I probably should have worded things a little better. What my focus was mostly on, like, raising good voters, people that know how to lift up their, be influential to a degree. Yes, those are needed. Brother Josh's are needed and all. But I'm talking mostly about, putting some importance on, sounding out your voice through your vote. Of course, there's questions about the validity of our voting system today. But putting that forth, making an educated vote, voting educated, knowing kind of what the problems are in our country, where our country started, how the foundations of our country and all, being educated on those things so that whenever it comes time for a politician to get up there and try to convince you to vote for him, he's coming up with factual statements to try to convince you. He's coming up with real solutions to problems that are real, not made up problems. Like today, they make up a bunch of problems and then they propose a bunch of solutions so that they can gain more power. That's a repeated cycle in our government today. Perhaps if we had a people that was more well educated on the fundamentals of our country and morality in general, then perhaps a lot of these issues would have never come about if people had not become complacent in morality, in their education, in all of these things. You know what I'm saying? You kind of see where I'm coming from now?
Absolutely think no. But the time our country was the most politically active was whenever they would arguably the least educated is the way that we define it today. But go back to revolutionary times in the 1800s, people knew all the rights.
But there was war.
Right.
And it was always like we were on the brink of being crippled, of being vanquished. And then it's like everybody wakes up. It seems like that. And then you see World War II, brink of, war, and, Pearl Harbor happens and all. And then it's like the whole country comes alive. Everybody's involved. But it's like that's what it took. 9/11 happened. And then it was just like church attendance. Everything started happening. There was a big push there. The patriotism was up super high.
Well, I mean, I don't think patriotism leads to education necessarily. I'm meaning like 1790, 1800. You have people that, but for all definitions of the word that we have today, were the most uneducated people on the planet.
Right.
I mean, obviously these people were very well read, but they didn't go to school. They weren't in mass schooling.
Yeah.
They were doing apprenticeships. And you ever read the book Johnny Tremaine? Back in the day, it was like the guy. It's like being an apprentice was a big deal back in the day. You didn't go to law school.
Right.
You worked for a lawyer.
Yeah.
Like you didn't go to barber school. You worked for a barber. Same like all that stuff. And so like they were educated, just not by the definition that we give it in 2023.
Yeah.
And so, but again, you talk about being able to institute policies that matter and that are like actual issues for regular people. Well, you got to live like a regular life. You know what I mean? Like I know I can right now. My experiences in life make me useful right now politically because I know what it's like to. We're still dealing with like the drug epidemic and the outcome of that. Like I've lost a dad to drug addiction and saw him driving on the road in a vehicle. I don't know where he got it from, and he's drunk off his hind end, and you know what I mean. Like I've seen that, and I've lived to tell about it. You know what I mean? But like there may be another time in life where, like in the late 80s when we were having the Reagan boom or whatever, my life experience wouldn't have been of much value politically because they were all they talked about was all they cared about was taxes and business and economics. And I don't know anything about any of that stuff. Like I'm one of those idiots that I don't even think about money, and so like I just know how to budget to zero.
Right.
You know what I mean? I know how to like make enough to be able to keep doing what I want to do.
Right. Just to get by. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not good. It just is what it is.
Right.
And so like what I was getting at earlier was I think we could all do much better if we were thinking, okay, well, I'm 18 or I'm 28 or whatever, and I'm just trying to do the day-to-day stuff well. I want to be a good dad.
Right.
I want to be a good husband.
Yeah.
I want to be a good friend. I want to be a good church deacon, and I want to be involved locally, and I want to be making good decisions at a local level. And guess what? The stuff that's good for the family is good for the 350 million people in the country.
Right.
Too, and you can scale it. But right now we're a top down. We think like, how do we start here and institute a policy that is good for 350 million people?
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I could say part of my ignorance, you're helping us wrap our minds. We see these things and then we're just wondering why. Why?
Yeah.
Why is it this way and not this way? And so you're kind of helping us wrap our minds around these certain conundrums just that we just don't understand. Like we see these kids riding in the street, or we see people without fathers and whatnot. And so we're just trying to understand what's going on, like what we need to do, and necessarily, and just especially political wise, because I would say that's your main influence. That's your mojo, right? Politics.
I mean, politics is, but I feel like politics should be downstream from culture. Right now, culture tends to run downstream from politics. It's like, again, we wait to see what Frankfurt does or what Washington does, and then we get pissed off about it or whatever.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's where like, God has used politics to get me, back, into church, and it's been a very spiritual awakening, for me, because I'm seeing it in action on like how this stuff I heard doesn't really matter if we're not like, we can't fix all that without getting dads back in the household. we've had a crumbling of every institution, every foundation of our country.
Right.
And no matter what anyone on the left wants to say, we are a country founded on Christian principles.
Yes.
So if we don't secure that and shore up that foundation first, the rest of it don't really matter.
Yeah.
I mean, we're literally in Frankfurt just trying to like patchwork things and keep the parents from chopping off little boys' genitals.
The family
That's crazy.
That's
crazy.
But that's not solving the problem.
Right.
We're literally trying to put a Band-Aid on it until we can get a grip on some of this other stuff.
It just blows my mind how much we just snowballed right there, you know?
Yeah.
Because I'm growing up, you know, like, oh yeah, I'm playing out in the yard with my brothers and my sisters, playing with the dog, whatever, playing in the dirt. And then I grow up, go to college, dad starts getting involved in politics. I'm like, what is going on? People are crazy.
Yeah. I think that's what Brother Josh says whenever he's like, I had no idea what I was signing up for. But it's like the Lord put him there right in time.
Yeah.
Like
you said, timing is everything.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's definitely
for getting in it like that, yeah.
Absolutely. There's no saying. It's like I think Dave Ramsey said. It's like if somebody asked him how do you go bankrupt, and he says like real slow, and then all of a sudden, it's kind of like that. You just like you kind of keep treading water, and then all of a sudden you can't tread water anymore.
And that's something that really sparks my curiosity is that gradual thing. Where did that gradual decline start? And it's probably in the family. That would be my just off the wall guess is in the family, because like you said, it's those little things, little steps. You know, you rid yourself of one truth. You know, you compromise on one thing, and then it's another small compromise, and it's another small compromise that ends up leading to the entire building falling down. You know, if you can imagine a brick wall, you know, a house made of bricks, and it's just the bricks or whatever. Obviously, that's not how it's actually made. But then you start taking out those bricks, right? You start just taking out one over here, one over here, one over here, two right here in the middle or whatever. Do that long enough, and then all of a sudden, you've got a pile of bricks on the ground. That's all you've got. You don't have anything similar to a wall. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I'm curious where it is that things started happening. What is it that, if it's possible to regain any of this ground in our country, how do we keep it from happening? What are we supposed to look for? You know what I'm saying?
And I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea, because I see those kids, and one thing people look at me and think I've got stuff put together. I have been flying by the seat of my pants my whole life. And I mean, it's like there are moments where I could see like, oh my gosh, that's not. I don't think it's like you have two segments of people in the country where it's like these people think they see bad one way, and then like you have other people that see bad as like you'll die of a drug overdose or being homeless, or you know what I'm saying. Right. And so people that just don't understand each other. But like if it wasn't for my God sending my wife my direction, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't be one of those kids, because I'd been too lazy to be down the streets burning stuff down. But again, it's like as a man, you get responsibilities and you kind of get loyalties that build up, and that in those times where you just want to give up, it kind of keeps you going, and
right,
you know what I mean. And then you better hope you have God along the way. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah. Right.
Because or you'll fall off even in those times. So I don't know the answer. You know, and I'm like, I try to let everybody know that like.
We see a lot of the problems today. Like today, we're overwhelmed with all of the things that are going on, and we see a lot of these problems. And that's one of the bigger problems is that there's a massive group of people that can't even address the problems for being problems. You know what I'm saying? Like they look at it as that's a good thing, and it's going to take the crippling failure of these ideas for some of them to learn.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Somebody that's fat didn't used to need told that they were fat. You know, like, you're way overweight, you need to lose weight. Nowadays, you know, so like you're saying, they're not even addressing the problem. They're just making it acceptable nowadays.
And trying to, at least. What I'm hoping to do with this podcast here is, by some chance, some young man or woman stumbles across the podcast, they're able to hear about something that's worth living for, if we're able to portray that, because the last thing I want to do is try to be judgmental, because I've been given more than I deserve, and I would probably, just like you said, I would probably be out there with them if I was in the right environment, raised by the parents that they've got. I would probably be right there with them. But I was blessed to be born into this family, in the church that I'm a part of, to have the education that I was given, and I hope that some way, somehow, we can both, inspire young people to live a life that's just, it's simple, yeah, and sometimes it's not glamorous, I'm sure, but it works,
right,
and it's productive, and it's fulfilling at the end of the day.
Yeah, John. Just like you said before, that's the stuff that you were involved in, like as a kid and stuff, and the things the things with your dad and the drug addiction there, and the fact that you pulled yourself from that, and of course with God's help and everything, and knew that you wanted something different. We've never been down that road, we weren't that way. We were raised by my father, and you had your dad and everything, and our parents, and so we've known these things our whole lives. And we just want some people to experience the satisfaction that we feel. So we see people behaving this way, and we're like, we want you, not because we're knowledgeable, not because we know anything,
right,
but just because of what we've been taught. And so, and somebody like you, I have the utmost respect for, because I don't know if I was in that position, where I would be.
Our
nowadays.
perspective comes entirely from seeing the good things that we're talking about. The opposite side of the problems that are being discussed of today, where there is there's a wife and a father, or there's a mother and a father in the home. The whole like my entire life, my parents have been together still to this day. That's all I've ever known. But I've seen how well it works. And then I see so many examples of where it doesn't work. And while I'm not married myself, I know that it takes a lot of work in on their part. You can attest to this here. There's an element of work involved in maintaining or building a relationship with your wife, but it's worth it. Instead of being selfish and self-centered, which I hear is one of the biggest reasons why somebody would, go through some big split in the family. They would break up their family with kids and all, is because of something selfish, most likely. Saving several, there's situations where there's abuse and all. Excluding those, it would be a self-centered thing to do. I've seen the results of when they stay together. I've witnessed them firsthand. I know the good that comes from it, and I want that for myself, and I want that for everybody that's willing to listen.
Now place yourself down into an area where it's literally, and you got to really take a step back to picture this.
Okay.
Being in an area where nobody has ever even seen that. No one has ever been in the house where even their buddy had a mother and father, like a biological mother and father under the same roof,
right,
biological siblings. Maybe they got a stepdad or whatever, or they got a boyfriend living there. It's not a biological mother and father. Imagine nobody around you having that.
Right.
And you're 17. You're going to think the answer is just right in the streets. The government needs to step up and pass some law to make things better.
Right.
Because you don't know what you don't know. Imagine you've never been taken to church. You've never been taken to church. With a family. You've never had a moment of spirituality. But the people is around you all day that you think love and care about you. As soon as you start saying that you're a tomboy, they start telling you that you're actually a boy, and you need to transition. That's what's disgusting about all this. We really do, and that's what's tough, because it's like my generation is actually becoming like the elders, and there's a lot of my generation that didn't have that around. That I was lucky, and I had several friends that had had good just transparent and open moms and dads that were still married. Now they weren't they still didn't treat I might have thought they were treating me like blood, but I still wasn't their blood, and they were going to take care of their kids. And my stepdad's a great dude.
Yes.
My mom is awesome, but she was one of those young mom that was, like dating guys and trying, wanting to be married and all that. But here's this straggler from like a previous man hanging around. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, and so like, it's just I think the biggest thing we can do for our youth and just for the country is, and this is the opposite of what I'm doing because I'm dealing with politics and everything. It's just you got to drill things down to like actionable steps. Right. You know what I mean? Like when I started getting involved in politics, I was just like, oh my gosh, what's like, how do you get involved or whatever? Yeah. And like something was just like, find a meeting and go to it. Or like I think I messaged someone on Facebook. I was like, hey, I want to come to this next meeting and just see what it's about. Yeah. Like it was literally that simple. You know what I mean? Like same thing with like being a good dad isn't about being a good dad.
Right.
It's about like your kids out. You're sitting in the house and you're like watching TV, and your son is in the backyard with a baseball glove on, throwing the ball into his glove. Yeah. Are you going to get your fat? I won't say. Are you going to get up off the couch and go back there and throw baseball with him right now, or are you going to sit there and be selfish because you want to watch the ball game?
Right.
Right.
Like that's being a good dad, and like over time that all builds up. So it's like if you're doing those things, I believe that I think this would be. I think you could back this up biblically. Is if you're doing those little things right, the big things just happen.
Right.
Yeah, they take care of themselves.
You're not even trying to do the big things. They just, you know what I mean? And so like, I think we overcomplicate things. And I think that's one reason I've been able to, maneuver my way into favorite because like, I'm literally just in there saying like, dude, guys, let's just get back to basics. Like, what are y'all even talking about?
I like that.
I do like that. Yeah.
Like why are we overcomplicating this bill and putting in like, it's got to be age appropriate and developmental. It's like, no, they're 5. It's just not in there.
Right.
Just take it out. Yeah. We don't need to we don't need to make the gray area. We don't need to overdo it.
We don't need genderqueer in the library.
It just is what it is. You know what I mean? And like, but everybody's trying to say things the right way. And so, I'll go in there and like, I'll drop some profanity on them. Like I say that sometimes because listen, sometimes people, like I'm good with personalities and I'm good at knowing how to like,
right.
If I want to roast somebody wrong, I know how to do it. If I want to, like make them feel good, I know how to do it. But like both sides of the spectrum, you have these like hoity-toity lefties that just cannot handle like certain language, and then you have like Christian people that if you say like the F word, oh my goodness. And I'm like, sometimes that might be the only way you're gonna hear what I'm saying. I need to snap you out of your like thought process right now. So I'm about to hit you with a word that you ain't probably heard in a while.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then what ends up happening is they realize like, oh my gosh, this guy's a regular person. I can be my normal self because everybody's their own level of raunchy.
Yeah.
So like,
right.
You know what I mean? We just put people on a pedestal. And so like we're overcomplicating things. We've overcomplicated education. Like I think it's like 51% of our budget, like $4 billion or something like that goes into just in Kentucky every year into education. There's no way you can tell me that's not overcomplicating things.
Right.
Jefferson County Public Schools got $609 million just in COVID money. Just that one school district.
Oh my goodness.
So I mean, we're just overcomplicating things, and like life ain't that like it ain't that complicated.
Yeah.
You wake up, you eat some breakfast, you hang out with your kids, go to work, come home, eat dinner.
And you said it would be good to have a married guy.
Pray with your family, go sleep. I mean, that's literally what I mean. But I'm saying that is what I'm convinced. That's what I mean. That's we gotta like show people. That's what will make you happy.
Right.
The little devices won't. Like this awesome studio won't. The time if you make money doing this and you get to spend more time with your family, you're gonna be happy. But it's gonna be the stuff that doesn't cost you a dime.
Right.
Hanging out with your kids, that's gonna make you happy. But like we don't teach people today that marriage is gonna make you happy.
Right.
That children are gonna make you happy. That spending some time alone with God.
Responsibility is going to make you like the things that are going to be the most fulfilling. I've said this at least 4 or 5 times on this podcast. The things that are the most fulfilling in life most always come with the most responsibility. That's the fact. Because you have to put forth work to make them valuable. You have to sacrifice something for something else to be valuable. If you get the things you get for free, often you don't value them nearly as much as you do something that you've worked for years and years and years on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, a car, if you get a Corvette, that's awesome. But if you spend 3 or 4 years rebuilding a 67 Ford Fastback, now that's you see what I'm saying? Like, the Corvette's awesome and all, but the 67 Fastback that you rebuilt, man, you've got conversations coming out of that are way better than, oh yeah, I'm awesome because I got a Corvette. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's night and day difference. That's probably, I think Corvette would be awesome.
Well, most likely you didn't lift that motor up and put it inside that car on your own. You probably had your kid doing it with you.
Good point.
Or your brother or your dad or your uncle.
This is why we have a married guy on.
You have something that's the. Listen, I've had it all. Or I went from having nothing to where I've gotten a 2-week paycheck, $90,000. All right, and I ain't got a dime to show for it because I'm stupid. Okay, like, but I'm here to tell everybody there is no happiness in it at all. And that's kind of, again, like, you know, that if there's a test for America, that's it. It's like capitalism is not what's going to make you happy.
Right.
Like the endless growth that like our economy requires to, you know, for everybody's mutual fund to increase isn't going to make anybody happy in the end.
Yeah.
You know, like, and there's a I don't know how to reconcile that. You know, like, we actually need everybody to slow their roll and like get back to basics. And, you know, like, I think everybody knows that, even the people that are in power, but like, it's a scary notion because that probably means our economy's we're going to probably have a recession because we're going to spend less money or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
We need some more people going bankrupt. File bankruptcy so you don't have to, so you're not swimming in debt. You know, like, if you're sitting there and you love your wife and you love your kids and you're having to work 100 hours a week on a strip job, in a coal mine, it's a coal mine.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all knew that. The strippers.
Yeah. Thank you for clarifying.
And like, but you feel that you just want to be with your kids more, and you want to be with your wife, and you don't care if you lose that truck. Let it go.
Yeah.
I'm telling you this because I actually filed bankruptcy when I was 25 years old.
Oh my.
I was trying to start a State Farm agency, and they were like, "You got too much debt. You got too much debt." And I'm like, "Okay, well, I don't know how someone will get rid of it. Like, I'm trying to get the better job to pay to get more money, and I can't get it. You know." And so, 25 years old, filed bankruptcy. They literally gave me a State Farm agency within the next 4 months.
Really?
So it's all a game, man. Like,
wow.
None of it matters. Like, all that matters is your wife, is like your wife and your kids and your God. That is it. You know, like, these networks of people that don't really care about you, that are just trying to get you're a means to an end for them. You know, like, at a community level, you can sustain it. You know, like at a church like this where you're all kind of dependent on one another. You know what I mean?
Right.
But even then, it's like, you end that night under that roof with certain people. And that's, if you take care of those people and the guy next door takes care of the people under his, then everybody's taken care of.
Right.
And you can sing Kumbaya around the campfire.
Right.
I like it. I think we've been going a little longer than an hour now.
Yeah, well, it was kind of about education and all, but it kind of just really brought it down to the basics, just the small building bricks that, you know, make this foundation that we have for a country.
Listen,
you know,
I can encourage y'all to do one thing, because again, y'all have a wonderful community out here. I mean, I can't stop talking about it. I mean, like, as an outsider, you'd come in and almost feel like you're walking like a cult or something. You know what I mean? Everybody's happy and smiling, and the kids are all like punching each other and like laughing,
throwing rocks at each other.
Everybody's got, like, I said, y'all keep JCPenney and like with the suits and everything. I mean, I'm just trying to I want to know the goodwill that y'all take all this stuff to, so I can go buy some stuff out there. But is intermingle with other communities, like, seek out different people. You know, like, when I first started the show I'm doing, it was me and one of my, like, bike buddies. His name's John Rodgers. We call him Pink. But It's like white trashy as I look, redneck as I look, he is equally as hood. He's got like a grill in, everything.
Oh my goodness, that's funny.
But we would talk, and you come to realize like people are just people, and for the most part, like we're all worried about the same stuff. You know, like we all have similar views on things, but the media uses different language, and they just try to inflame. But it's like the one thing they cannot afford is for normal people to cut them out, which is why these shows, podcast stuff are so important, because you cut out legacy media, you cut out all the people with the big bucks, and just say like, going straight to the people. I'm going straight to the guy that I'm supposed to hate. Yeah. And we're going to talk now. There are people that that, I mean, we're having to draw some lines in the sand here. You know what I'm saying? If you're okay with like gender surgeries, like I have no use for you.
Right.
I mean, like that'd be my encouragement. Would just be like, seek out people that are different from you, know what, and then walk the walk.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's the hardest part. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, talk about like you asked me how I grew the beard, how I grew my long hair. It's just day to day. You know what I mean? Like, people know how you get in shape. It's like, well, it ain't worrying about like having a 6-pack. That's for sure. Yeah. It's about like eating good today. Right. You know what I mean? And then eventually it'll turn out the right way.
I think today there's a big push for pills that can give you a 6-pack.
There's none of that. No. Yeah. None of that going on. So.
Yeah. I've seen ads though. They're like, all I started doing was taking this pill right here, and I'm like,
that's always been.
That's so stupid.
But even people like, you know who Liver King is?
Yeah.
I don't.
So even
steroid.
So you can go into Hulu, and they did like a 2020 thing on him. But like, people are hating on him for being a steroid user, right? Like, go listen to his message on that 2020 thing he just did, and like he's saying the same things that I'm saying. Like, he was chasing a dollar, spinning his wheels, nothing was happening. Him and his wife moved out to like BFE, and like they started eating, literally like just ripping hearts out of deer and starting like munching on them. And they're kidding. Like, people are now like, well, he was on steroids, it was a lie. And I'm like, he's still living every day out in the middle of nowhere, and like his kids seem happy and his wife seems happy, and he's like crying, telling you that like the inner struggle that he's dealing with, and that he's had to get away from the hustle and bustle. You know what I mean? Like, you know who Jelly Roll is? That
I've heard that name. So I don't know who it is though.
He's another guy that's on Hulu. They did a documentary on him, but like he's a country singer now. And I honestly equate myself with these people a lot, because so Jelly Roll, he's tatted up and everything. He's a white dude. He was in prison for from like 15 until like 21. He was in prison. Now he's at like the CMAs, right? He's super fat. I mean, he's a fat dude, man. I mean, he's huge, and he's married to like his wife's like a Botox, and like he's at the CMAs, and like Reba don't even want to talk to him. But I'm like, you have these regular people that have made so many mistakes that are trying to like, they're screaming out for help. I'm really screaming out for help right now. I'm yelling for help from you guys that grew up in good communities with good fathers and good mothers and good churches. Like, I'm yelling for you all to step up. You know what I mean? Because like, I don't have the experiences to be able to like, I don't have the foundation. I'm trying to do the right thing, but I need constant reminders around me, or I can just learning constant lessons, because I didn't get them growing up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so like, I say that just because you see all these rough around the edges people popping up everywhere. Yeah. Right. But like, it's only going to continue happening if the other people that I'm a little out there, so I get noticed. You know what I'm saying? Jelly Roll, like I said, he's got tatted all over his face, and he's fat and huge, and you got Liver King, who's got 6-packs and doing pull-ups from like the tree branch. They get seen, but we're only rising to the top because of the vacuum that's open right now. There's nobody filling the void. Yeah, that actually knows what they're doing. Yeah. So I need you guys. I guess it's my challenge to y'all.
I'm telling you, ever since we've started this podcast here, it's a learning experience, but I have found it's a challenge, to say the least, and I have learned a lot from just getting in here. I've learned a lot about myself and the way that I talk. I've learned a lot about how to present a thought clearly. Still working on that one. But and then the humility that is needed to be able to actually really make an impact on somebody's life, and then the limited perspective that I have myself, towards the world and all, because I've not been exposed to most of the stuff that you've been exposed to throughout your childhood, especially. And you shouldn't, and you don't. I don't have to be, and you don't want to be, and nor should you. I don't have to be. I'm thankful for that. Don't let anybody shame you because you don't have street cred. Right. Like that is a good thing. Street cred is we've heralded as some awesome thing to try to obtain, but that's a facade. That's stupid. Yeah. There's nothing cool about having to deal with drugs and alcohol and addiction or abuse or trafficking. Right. There's nothing cool about that, living in the street. I mean, because you packing a gun to school is not cool. Right. You know what I mean? So I get so mad seeing people try to shame, especially white men. This is one thing that it's if you were brought up in what they consider it's a hoity-toity white family where they think you didn't have problems. Yeah. The fact that they try to demonize that, I'm we should want that for every family of every skin color. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's disgusting how they do that. But y'all have a great foundation here. Live biblically. I think I talked this the other night. The Bible's so masculine. It's the Apostle Paul. I mean, when you really dig into the Bible and you realize, I could see the veins in his forehead popping out. Yeah. When he's writing some of those letters he was writing. Who was it recently that was said that Paul's speech, maybe it was just somebody else that I heard, Paul's speech was considered by the majority of the church as rude. Yeah. It was it could have even been you. I don't know. I think we were talking about it. Someone else said it. I didn't say that because I don't know that much. Okay. I don't know enough about it. Anyways, yeah, it was something else. And the Jesus that's being portrayed to this world. Go for that. The feminine looking Jesus is not the Jesus of the Bible. He's we don't want to offend nobody. But that's not how Jesus was. You ever watch Talladega Nights? What's that? You ever saw the movie Talladega Nights? Mm-mm. Oh, my goodness. I'm about to get off the show now. You got to go watch Talladega Nights. It's a Will Ferrell movie, John C. Reilly. But he talked about how he's I don't want the baby Jesus. I want my Jesus in he's one of those tuxedo T-shirt with a mullet, So he's oh my god, he's he parties in the back, but he's business in the front or whatever. Right. There's something to be said about what you're saying there. It's Jesus was the most masculine person to ever live. He was flipping some. He was the most. But most likely they were wooden tables, and he was flipping them, and he was a carpenter. He was the most masculine person to ever live. And if you read throughout the Bible, so the Apostle Paul it doesn't get any more masculine than that. Right. It's and that's honestly, the world is screaming for that. When you see those kids run through the streets, what they're really saying is, give us some strong men here to get our house in order. Yeah. Women can't do it. I don't care. Call me a misogynist, whatever. Right. Women, women can't do it. We need men to do it. We need dads to do it, granddads to do it, uncles to do it. What's that? Isaiah 6:8. And I heard the voice of the Lord say, "Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?" Yeah. So here am I, send me. We all have to think that way. That's a good point. The whole the point about them screaming for something. The truth is that they're acting on an emotion that they're feeling in the moment that's being brought on possibly by peers, peer pressure and all. There's going to come a time where they're reasoning or trying to reason in their mind life. And that's when the Spirit of God might will have an occasion to move in their heart and work on them. Or perhaps they hear truth. They hear truth. They hear something that seems to be worth looking into a little further. And then they end up coming across something like this channel where we can point them back to Jesus. You know what I'm saying? Right. There's going to come a time. So even though we see them at a climax, that's what gets videoed usually, the most dramatic points of things. Keeping those little things in order. Making sure we remain faithful, making sure our message don't change, we don't back down, we don't compromise. And I think that in the end, that the Lord will have every opportunity to work in their lives to have the truth presented before them. And of course, we're political and more practical and all, and they need spiritual. They need the spiritual man to be made alive. But I think that's a good place to wrap up the podcast right there. I think we've been going a good long while. I know you've got quite a drive back home. I really do appreciate you.
I appreciate y'all having me on and just keep doing what y'all are doing. I really think it's awesome.
I appreciate you coming on, man. It's been fun.
Sir.
It's been a
It's
lot
always
of
good
fun.
to see him.
We'll see y'all later. Y'all take care. Be sure to join us next week. Like, subscribe, do all the things that you're supposed to do down there right below this video, and we will plan on seeing you as soon as we possibly can. Adios.
Did you say adios?
I say adios
That's
every time.
That's cultural appropriation.
I don't care.